Okay, here we go. Suppose you have 2x squared plus 9x plus 10 equals 0. A little bit of a review from our time in Algebra 2. Do you remember what you do to solve that equation? You factor it, yeah. And what you do is you look for factors of 2x squared. You're going to have a 2x, and you're going to have an x. And we talked about this at the beginning of the year. We actually spent some time on factoring, and you're not required to factor a lot in this class, but this is one time. If you struggle with factoring, I'm sorry. This is going to be challenging for you. I don't know what to do. But we can work through it and do our very best, and I can continue to help you. So let's look at 10. What are factors of 10? We're taking trigonometry, folks. What are factors of 10? 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. So I can either put a 2 here and a 5 here, or I could put a 5 here and a 2 here, or I could put a 1 and a 10, or a 10 and a 1. But only one of those options is correct. Can somebody give me an option that is not correct? Let's try 10 and 1. Watch what happens if we were to multiply this out. 2x times x gives me squared. 2x squared. 2x times x is 2x squared. 10 times 1 is 10. But we have to see if we come up with the 9x. So we check the inside and the outside. That gives me 10x. That gives me 2x. Combine them and we get 12x. That does not work. Does anybody see what option does work? Everybody is allowed to contribute in class. 5 and 2. If you have a 5 here and a 2 here, again, you can check the inside and the outside. So 5x and 4x makes 9x. So this is going to factor the same way. It's going to be a 2 times tangent of theta times a 1 tangent of theta. Instead of an x, I have a tangent. And just like we had a plus 5 and a plus 2, I will write plus 5 here. I'll write plus 2 there. Once we had factored it to 2x plus 5 and x plus 2, do you remember what we did then? We said you have a solution here of x equals -2, and here would be x equals -5/2, right? You set both these pieces equal to 0 and solve. 2 tangent of theta plus 5 equals 0, and tangent of theta plus 2 equals 0. I'll subtract the 5 and divide by the 2, and I get tangent of theta is equal to -5/2. I get tangent of theta is equal to -2. So what's different in this scenario is instead of solving one equation, we are solving two. So I have to set up two sets of these. In which quadrants is tangent negative? 2 and 4, and negative again, 2 and 4. So I take out my calculator. And I'm going to inverse tangent 5 divided by 2. I am working in radians because I was teaching a different course. Move it back to degrees. 68.20. So how would I find this first angle here? 180 minus 68.2. And then, what do I do next? Here, Jesse. 360 minus 68.2. And I get 291.8. Now I have to do the tangent of inverse of 2, because I got to solve that piece. Tangent inverse of 2, 63.43, 63.43. So again, 180 minus 296.57. So I've come up with 4 solutions. We are going to try some problems that are slightly more difficult on Monday, but this is the content limit of what you're going to see on the test. If you can solve these type of problems, I would say those are the hardest trigonometric problems that you're going to have. So we try number 2. We have to factor this. What are factors of 6 sine squared? 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. I'm going to try the 3 sine of theta and the 2 sine of theta. You might ask, how do you know? You don't. You got to be good at guessing and checking. Yeah. What are factors of 2? And it's negative, so it's either going to be -1 and +2, or it's going to be +1 and -2, or it's going to be -2 and +1. You can see you have 4 different combinations. Does anybody see which option works? +2 and -1. That will give me a 4 sine and a -3 sine, which adds to a +1 sine. Again, I check the middle and the outside. You can see I get a 4 and a -3 makes the 1 sine in the middle. Let's set each equal to 0 and solve. 3 sine of theta plus 2 equals 0. And 2 sine of theta minus 1 equals 0. Minus the 2 divided by the 3 sine of theta is -2/3. Add the 1 divided by the 2. Sine of theta is 1/2. So just like I taught you how to solve equations where we just had 2 solutions, these look very similar to what we started out with. The difference is we need to do both of them. Where is sine negative? 3 and 4, very good. And sine is then positive in 1 and 2. Sine inverse 2/3. I get 41/81. Sine inverse 1/2, and I get 30. So, what do I do to find my first angle? Everybody see it? I'll add 41. I get 221.81 degrees. And then subtract 4181, 360 minus 4181. I get 318.19. How about my other 2 angles? Those should be easy. 30 and 150. Let's try one more together, and then we can set you guys off to work on your own. Let's try number 4 together. For secant, I could use 4 and 1, or I could use 2 and 2. Let's try 2 and 2. Five, and it's multiplies a positive 5, but it adds to a negative. So are they both going to be negative, or are they both going to be positive? They're both going to be negative because they have to multiply to a positive. If we try it, we've got minus 5 and minus 1. Does that work? Doesn't work, does it? So it looks like 2 and 2 is not a good choice. What's our other choice? Yep, 4 secant and secant. Let's try a minus 5 and a minus 1. Does that work? Yeah, if you check the inside and the outside, you can see you get a negative 5 and a negative 4, which makes a negative 9. 4 secant of theta minus 5 equals 0. 4 secant of theta is equal to 5 over 4. Do you have a secant button on your calculator? So what do you have to do? Cosine of theta equals 4 over 5. And for our next one, we have secant of theta minus 1 equals 0, or secant of theta equals 1. Again, we don't have a secant button on our calculator, so I flip it to cosine. The reciprocal of 1 is 1. Where is cosine positive? One and 4 on the right side. Very good. We said on the right side. Good job. All right, so I'm going to cosine inverse 4 over 5. I get 3687. And the other one, I don't need to draw reference angles, do I? If you have a value of 1, you need to think about where is cosine 1. Well, remember, cosine is positive, positive, negative, negative. So if you cross over from positive to negative, what number do you have to cross over? 0. So it looks like cosine is negative at those spots. It's negative 1 there. It's positive 1 there. So cosine is positive 1 at 0 degrees and 360 degrees. Again, you want to solve for these between 0 and 360. My other two solutions will be 36.87 degrees and 323.13. We did 3 problems in class. There's a total of 12 on your worksheet. You complete 7 more, so you can leave 2 undone. Okay? So you cross off any 2 you want. Good time to work. I'll post the answer key.